Hello friends, in unit 3 we had in the very first session that we had discussed about what basically commercial correspondence is. So that was just some kind of an introduction to you, and we said that whenever you are corresponding with any of the stakeholders, be it the suppliers, customers, creditors, the banks or the insurance agencies or the regulatory agencies or the shareholders, these are all examples of commercial correspondence. And we talked about the 4 C's which ensure that your commercial correspondence is effective, right? Now what we are going to do in this particular session today is we are going to discuss the first 2 C's, correctness and conciseness, right? So let us start with correctness. I hope you recall that I had said that correctness means you are not providing any inaccurate information. Whatever you are stating in the correspondence, that is absolutely correct. It should not have some false data, right? So let us discuss this element of effective correspondence, correctness, in more detail. So first thing, correctness in what? Correctness in spelling. The spelling should be absolutely correct. The grammar that you are using, there should not be any grammatical mistakes. The sentence construction should be okay. So this is the first element of correctness. So apart from facts, what is important, that is spellings. There should not be any spelling mistakes. The grammar should be okay and the sentence construction should be okay. If you are making use of Microsoft Word, for example, and you are making use of autocorrect or maybe spell check, what will happen is, if you have written a wrong spelling, if you have misspelled a word, it will automatically correct it, or it will at least let you know that you have made a mistake. So nowadays you have access to these kind of tools to ensure that your correspondence is free of these kind of errors, spelling errors, grammar errors. For example, for grammar there is a tool which is known as Grammarly app. So if you use that Grammarly app, you might be able to find out whether you have used the correct form of grammar or not, whether you are grammatically correct in whatever you have written in your correspondence. So you can make use of those tools also, right? Then apart from spelling and grammar part, you have to ensure that the layout. Now what do we mean by layout? Please understand, when you are writing a letter, you have to write dear sir, but how do you start? Where from do you start writing dear sir? Do you start it from the leftmost margin? Do you write it in the middle? Or do you write it at the right extreme? Left से start करते हैं, or you put it in the middle or towards the right? Where do you write dear sir? I hope you recall that you start at the left margin, left extreme. Fine. So this is how you start. So this is an example of a layout. Where do you put your date? Where do you put the subject line? Where do you write dear sir? Or where do you write your own address or your own contact details? So this is an example of layout, and the layout should also be correct. We'll be discussing different types of layout in the forthcoming sessions. Then the information, which I had talked about earlier also, the information, the data which is there in your correspondence, that should not be inaccurate. You should ensure that the data that you are including in your correspondence is correct. Then the tone and the formality levels. Tone. What do we mean by tone? The tone should not be too harsh. So for example, if I have to lodge a complaint with my supplier and I have to tell him that the product that he has supplied to me, they are not up to the mark, they are not of good quality. So I cannot straight away say the products provided by you are of very bad quality and I am really displeased with this. I cannot state like that. I have to use a moderate tone. So I would say, dear sir, this is to bring to your kind knowledge that the products which have been supplied by you on this date have been found to be defective. Would you kindly look into the matter? So you have to ensure that the tone is appropriate and the level of formality is appropriate. For example, when you are writing a letter, I'm just giving an example. when you are writing a letter to a colleague of yours in a different department, this is an example of horizontal communication. You may write, "Dear Mr. Abdul," right? But if you start using "Respected Abdul," that would not be appropriate, because you know already that he's a colleague and he's at the same level. However, if you are writing to, let's say, the Chief Minister, it would not look good if you write it this way, "Dear Chief Minister Sir." Rather, you should write "Honorable Chief Minister Sir." So this is what we mean by appropriate level of formality, and you have to take care of these two things as well. Don't overdo apology. So when you are apologizing, many times you have to apologize to your customer for delayed supply or for defective goods supplied by you. So don't overdo it. Don't go overboard. You have to apologize, but don't do it repeatedly. "Sir, we are very sorry and we are extremely sorry. We are going to ensure that this does not happen. Kindly forgive us." This is overdoing apology, so you should not do it. And for example, if somebody has lodged a complaint to you, somebody has complained about your defective products, then don't agree grudgingly. Just be open hearted and accept if in case there has been a problem from your side, that goods supplied by you were indeed defective, then just accept that. So don't agree grudgingly. Don't just agree just because a customer is telling you that your products have been defective. Don't agree grudgingly. You have to accept. In case you have made a mistake, accept that, right? So this is what we mean by correctness. Now let's move on to the second C, conciseness. Another word for this is brevity. You might have read about brevity in word power made easy. Now what is the meaning of brevity or conciseness? You have to keep the things as short as possible, but that does not mean that you don't pass on half of the information. You have to provide all the information that you need to provide, but try and keep it as short as possible. And what are the techniques to do that? Include only relevant details, right? So whenever you are making use of commercial correspondence for business purpose, don't include unnecessary details. For example, if you are writing a complaint letter about the washing machine that you have purchased from a dealer, simply mention the item number. So there is a particular serial number for that particular washing machine that you have brought from the dealer. Don't mention the color and the size, because the item number in itself will be containing all the information, and the dealer, just by looking at the item number, would understand what is the color, what is the make, which brand it is. So everything would be clear to him. So you don't need to include those details, right? So include only relevant details. Omit unnecessary modifiers. What do we mean by modifier? Modifier is some kind of an adjective. Now have a look at this new innovation. Innovation is already something that you are doing new, that you are doing it for the first time, and it is of some use also to the society. So that is what innovation is, right? But now you are using this modifier here, new innovation, but it is of no use, because innovation in itself means that it is something new which is also beneficial for the society. So why use new again? Have a look at this. Very unique. Now unique means one of its type, right? Now what is the use of saying very unique? Anokha, bahut anokha. Now what is the difference between the two? There is hardly any difference. So rather than using this word, only use unique. Don't use very unique. Advanced plans are made in advance only. Do you do work first and then plan? You plan in advance only. So what is the use of writing this advanced plans? So these are all modifiers. Grammatically speaking, they are all adverbs actually, right? So they are modifiers. They modify the meaning of the word that precedes them. That succeeds them. So plans succeeds advance, and so advance is modifying the meaning of plans. But there is no need to write advanced plans, because in any case plans are made in advance. Cylindrical in shape. Why are you writing it this way? Cylindrical is perfect. Circular in shape. The ball was circular in shape. The object was circular in shape. Instead of writing that, you can simply write the object was circular. It would make sense that way also. So don't use unnecessary unnecessary modifiers. 3 cubic meters in volume. When you are saying cubic meters or meter cube, naturally it means that you are referring to volume. Meter square is you are referring to area. So why need to write all these things? Simply write 3 cubic meters. You don't need to write in volume. Actual experience. Now experience actually happens. Experience is something that you actually go through. So why need to write actual experience? Simply write experience. Fine. So this is how you can reduce the unnecessary words, and you can reduce the length of your commercial correspondence or the number of words that you are using in your commercial correspondence, and you can make it brief. Use short phrases instead of in the form of. You can write as. In many cases it has been seen. Instead of that you can write often it has been seen. This student exhibits the ability to coordinate well with others. Rather than that, I can simply say this student shows the ability, shows how to coordinate with others. So I don't need to use these long phrases, I can use their short forms. In the event it rains, I won't come to the college. If it rains, I won't come to the college. Right? So in the event of can be removed, and I can make use of if. At a later date, I'll be coming to your office at a later date. कभी बाद में आऊँगा किसी बात की डेट में. Simply write later. बाद में आऊँगा. Right? At the present time. Instead of that you can simply write now. For the purpose of. He went there for the purpose of meeting the teacher. He went there to meet the teacher. Or he went there for interacting with the teacher. So you reduce the length by getting rid of these unnecessary phrases. He has no alternative but study. The other way of writing this could be he must study. He has no alternative but study means उसके पास और कोई विकल्प नहीं है, लेकिन पढ़ना ही है. The other way of writing this could be उसे पढ़ना ही है. So you have made your phrases, you have got rid of unnecessary phrases, and you have achieved brevity. You have made your correspondence concise. In addition to, you can write besides. This is a shorter phrase, or moreover, or as well as. In addition to studying hard, he also plays football. You can write besides studying, he also plays football. So you have made your sentence shorter. In order to achieve success, you have to work hard. Rather than writing that, I can say to achieve success, you have to work hard. So this is how you can reduce the length of the sentence. In relation to, you can make use of about. He goes there on a regular basis. He goes there regularly. So this is how you can reduce the length of your commercial correspondence. Fine. So friends, in the next session, we'll be discussing about clarity and courtesy. The third and the fourth C's of effective correspondence. Thank you very much for your time.